I'm sitting here with my cup of coffee, which is probably one of the most important things that you need to find any success. Well, I'm just kidding. I mean, do you like coffee? I don't know. But if you like coffee, you know what I'm talking about. You definitely need it. But what it got me thinking about was how much I really wanted a jelly filled donut. A glazed jelly filled donut is one of my favorite things, especially if it's raspberry flavored. And it got me thinking, though, about how important it is to know your weaknesses, because we know it's important to know our strengths and to play on our strengths and our abilities to the best that we can. But what's almost even more important is knowing our weaknesses. So, what is your jelly filled donut? Jelly filled raspberry flavored glazed donut. What can you do to avoid it? See, I really feel like a donut when I'm drinking coffee, but I will refuse to look at it. I have to walk past it. Now, I'm not always successful. I'm not going to lie to you and say, I always win the battle, the donut battle. But what is your weakness and how can you avoid it? And so that's so important to having success when it comes to losing weight and just discipline in general for our success. But the question is, how can you not only recognize your weakness, but what can you do to let it defeat you? You know, and just like me, I would have to refuse to walk past the donut display or the donut section of the store. I would have to refuse to even go in that direction because I know that, that's my weakness. And so we all have different weaknesses, and there are different ways in which we can avoid being put in the situation where we fail. And so that's kind of the whole key to this thing. So that's the tip for today. Just think about what are your weaknesses, whether it's cookies, sweets. Maybe it's not sweets, maybe it's salty foods, or maybe it's something that you just absolutely have to have if you're right next to it. Maybe it's a churro or something. But then always remember there's a way to avoid putting ourselves in that situation. So when we tend to fail, right, when I tend to get the donut and I cave in, it's because I've let myself be in a situation where that could even happen. And of course, there are people with very strong willpower, and sometimes we have more willpower at certain times than at others. But what can we do to avoid the situation? Because if we avoid the situation, it's much easier to resist than being in the situation and then just trying to use willpower, which willpower, as you probably have realized, can be very difficult to use successfully. And a lot of times it can be good in some situations, but when that donut is facing you right in it's looking at you right in the eyes, it's hard to rely on willpower, and we all know what that feels like. So that's just a brief tip, is not only to think about your weaknesses, think about the points of failure for you personally, but then think about how do I avoid putting myself in a situation where I'm staring at it and looking at it in the face while it's tempting me to try to eat it. So I just thought that was hopefully helpful. Thank you for your time today and listening. Now I'm going to finish up my coffee. Have a great day.